The format is simply Bob is the MC, and Ron and I are facing off PTI style. Bob, the floor is yours, and so is the mic.
It's time for another edition of the Cook and Joe Showdown here on Mondays exclusively on 93.7 The Fan. On the line, bragging rights. The loser gets lovely parting gifts. And we have some questions that we haven't really tackled yet today. So here we go. Number one question, and Ron, you'll go first.
Ron, you excited for the big showdown?
I always
Why
am.
are you interrupting a perfect start that I had?
I just wanted to set the tone.
I know, but
by
you've
letting
messed up
people
the
know
tone
how
by
excited
allowing me
we
now
are.
to get totally distracted.
I'm sorry.
Can we redo that again?
Sure.
Joe, can we have the opening
Music
again?
again, horse, please? You're right. I shouldn't have jumped in there. It was horrible timing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Monday edition of the Cook and Joe Showdown here
Is this a
exclusively
good time
on
for my apology?
Shut up, Joe, until I turn your mic off. Okay, here we go. We got some questions. And again, bragging rights on the line here. The last three have been won by Ron, Joe, so you have some digging out to do.
Who goes first?
Ron, he's the defending champ.
All right.
So, more impressive this weekend, Pitt beating Clemson or the Penguins minus 5 of their premier players, arguably 4 Hall of Famers. Toronto had Nylander, Matthews, Tavares, Mitch Marner. They had a pretty much full stock cupboard of talent, and yet the Penguins beat them 7-1. More impressive.
Well, I think the Penguins' win was more unlikely and more surprising. Pitt had a better team than Clemson, certainly with a better quarterback. Now this is one football win trumps one hockey win, but I thought the Penguins, when I left the press box after writing about Pitt, I couldn't believe it was 7-1. Penguins, no Crosby, no Malkin, no Rust, no Carter, and then I found out no Letang, and they win 7-1. That was so unlikely, makes it more impressive. Acknowledging that it's 1 out of 82 versus 1 out of 12.
And that's the difference for me, because I would also add no pressure the other night for the Penguins. Pitt was on a national stage in a game they really had to win to capture the local populace.
Right.
Ron used a good word, unlikely. The Penguins' win was more unlikely. It was, but more impressive. Pitt on that stage compared to an October hockey win, that's more impressive to me.
Joe, this is for you. Marcus Patterson wins the Norris Trophy. Yes or no?
The teacher's Patterson.
If they gave it out
He was
now,
a plus
sure.
5 the other day.
I know. He's unbelievable.
I think he leads the NHL in plus minus. He almost had a 4-point game the other day.
He's thriving in this pairing, but I think I'm going to hold my Norris vote. But, yes, he's off to a good start. Good for him.
Jack Adams Award would go to Mike Sullivan at this point. I can tell you that.
No
what
question.
he's done, that's 5 games in. I get that. But what he does with less is amazing to me.
So then the question is, why does it change? It doesn't change dramatically, but it does change to the point where you see a lot of odd man breaks becoming more visible when the star players return. So, Joe, why is that?
Well, I actually haven't seen that. I thought last year they did a great job.
But we have seen it before.
In the past.
Yes.
Yeah, but to me, the most recent sampling is last regular season. They wound up winning the toughest division in hockey, largely because they played a smart, systematic brand of hockey. Now, you could say Gino wasn't in there for a lot of that. I think Gino and Letang, when they're at their worst, let's say that, they can sort of poison the well, so to speak. But you need those guys at their best to win. So I'm willing to live with that. I'm willing to live with their mistakes to have them both in the lineup. But the premise of the question is what I would argue with, because last year I haven't seen what you described probably in a couple of years, to where they become undisciplined. I think they were very disciplined last year.
Yeah, Sullivan again. He has a way, the system that if they do follow it, they can win, and he keeps harping on it. No matter who we put out there, we can win, and eventually you got to think it's going to catch up to them. They have Tampa Bay here at home tomorrow night, and Tampa Bay they beat in the opening game. They're going to be, I don't think they're going to be hung over on the Stanley Cup ceremonies tomorrow night. I would expect a real tough effort from Tampa tomorrow.
The Cincinnati Bengals are currently the number 1 seed in the AFC. Ron, will they end up there?
I don't know if they're going to end up number 1. I could see them winning that division, though. Joe Burrow, I've said all along, is the real deal. Jamar Chase, I guess, has more yards as a rookie after 7 games than any receiver ever, I think. They're the real deal there. Defense is good. They totally shut down Baltimore yesterday. And yeah, Baltimore maybe was due for an off day, but that was a convincing win, Joe. And, I mean, Burrow just impresses me more and more and more every time I watch him play.
No, they won't be the top seed in the AFC, I don't think. They're a team that to be reckoned with every week. They're also a team that lost to Chicago, that needed a comeback and a field goal at the buzzer to beat Jacksonville. And I don't think the Ravens were doing what the 11-0 Steelers were doing in a large way, which is fooling people. I don't think they're that good. Their defense, there's some stat out there I'll read later about giving up 400 passing yards, I think.
Mm-hmm.
How many times they've done that this year? I just think that they were due for a loss. But the Bengals have arrived. I'm not arguing that.
Quickly.
But they're going to find out in the second, I think, in
think.
the second half of their schedule.
All right,
that, they're not going to be the number one seed.
Who at this point in your mind will be the number one seed?
Probably
from
Buffalo.
The AFC.
Probably Buffalo.
I would say
Yeah,
Tennessee
that's a
has a good chance to end
Boy, they're
there,
getting
too.
hot at the right time, too. Well,
Buffalo
not
is
at
a
the right
better
time. They're
team.
hot right now.
All right, that leads me into this since we brought up Tennessee and Buffalo. Who is the MVP of the NFL right now, if you had to give it, after 6 weeks of the season, or 7, depending on
Whose turn is it?
You go
You're
ahead,
first.
Joe. You go ahead.
For me, it's now become clearer, especially with the Ravens losing yesterday. I think it's a clear-cut choice of Derrick Henry. Not just because of his numbers, which are historic, and he threw a touchdown pass
How about
yesterday. But if you watch their offense, and was it Tony Dungy breaking it down last night?
The Tannehill touchdown run was a direct result of everyone following Derrick Henry.
Everything they do is predicated on Derrick Henry. He's the best player in the league right now, and the team is winning. They're coming off wins over Buffalo and Kansas City. He's my MVP.
I'd still probably lean towards Kyler Murray. I think what he's done this year, the only undefeated team in the league, right?
So far, that's right.
I would think he'd be a favorite. I can't argue much with Derrick Henry. And how about this name? How about 44-year-old Tom Brady?
He should be.
What he is doing is just incredible. It's beyond incredible what he is doing. I would put him definitely in the conversation.
So he would be my pick, just because I'm going to give you my answer. Tom Brady would. You mentioned Derrick Henry's effect. What is the effect Tom Brady has on that team? And how
You're
many
running
touchdown
the showdown.
passes?
No one's interested in your
That's
opinion
true.
here. It's about our opinion.
But
asking
if
us
I had a
questions,
top three,
Bob.
it would be Brady, Stafford, then Henry. I think Matt Stafford has given that team
no
a
love for
legitimate-
the quarterback of the only undefeated team?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
I'm willing to wait on that one. All right, the record says, Ron Cook, Kansas City is not as good as Pittsburgh. The Chiefs are 3-4. Pittsburgh's 3-3. Are they better?
I still think they're better, but I can't explain. This just looks like it's one of those years for Mahomes. Did you see him take that hit yesterday, by the way? It was pretty gruesome. I guess he was okay, cleared the protocol, and Andy Reid just kept him out of that game. He's turning it over left and right. Their defense stinks. But, do I think they're even going to make the playoffs? I'm not sure of that. I still think they have time to turn it around, but I still think they're better than the Steelers at this point, Joe.
I don't. I think they're about even, and I think their defense is way worse than the Steelers' defense, which has had some warts at times lately, but nothing of a historic nature like the Chiefs. The Chiefs are getting shredded week in, week out.
That's not going to change, it looks like.
They don't have a running game to speak of. Obviously, I would still take Mahomes, not only over Ben, but over almost every quarterback in the league, if not every quarterback. In fact, if I was starting a franchise right now, I'd still take him over any quarterback in the league. But I think the Steelers are actually at even or better than the Chiefs right now.
Ron Baker Mayfield has injury problems. He did not practice today. Are the Steelers better off facing, for their opportunity to win a game, are they better facing off Mayfield or Case Keenum?
I think they're better off facing Mayfield at less than full strength than Case Keenum at full strength. It's kind of like, Clifford for Penn State on Saturday wasn't at full strength. If they had any kind of a decent backup, they'd have been better off. I think with Mayfield limited to a degree, one hit away from being knocked out of the game, the Steelers are going to be coming after him. I think they're better off playing Mayfield than they are Keenum, Joe.
That's a very good question, Bob. Very insightful,
Well, thank you.
I might add. So Keenum was 21 of 33. He played pretty good. He ran the ball 4 times. He can move around. I think I agree with Ron on this one, that a compromised Baker, I'd rather play a compromised Baker Mayfield than Case Keenum. But if Baker is let's say 90% or above, I'd rather play Keenum. How's that?
That's fair.
Is that comprehensible, Bob?
That's fine.
Comprehensible, I should say.
And Nick Chubb practiced today, and Jack Conklin, the offensive tackle. You know they're going to come in, and especially after what Denver did against the Steelers and what Seattle did against the Steelers, they're going to try to run the ball.
Yes, Dearness Johnson first start,
How about
146
that?
yards. So
Jeez,
it doesn't matter who.
man.
They have a zone blocking scheme, which leads me, Joe, to this. Are the Steelers better off starting Robert Spillane over Devin Bush, given they're going to try to stop a run team that's really good at what they do at running the football?
Yes, they are. And I can't believe I'm saying that. We had Hokie in here saying Spillane is better against the run. Listen, strip Devin Bush of his play calling duties, take away the green dot. Why would this be that big of a deal? He's not playing well.
It'd be a big deal if he's benched, though. If he's benched for Spillane. I'm not arguing with you. Spillane may be better against this team, but you've invested so much in Bush. Maybe give him a couple of weeks off, I guess, until he really is healthy with that knee. But I think it's a huge story if they bench a guy. They traded 10 spots up to get number 10.
It's a big story. It's a big story. You're right.
But
they've already taken things away from him. Next will be playing time.
Well, if he can do better in the run game based on all the analytics, then why would you?
If it's a fact, what Hokie said that he's better, that Spillane is better against the run, then it would make all the sense in the world. But I think we should also mention Schobert, who hasn't exactly been
lit it up either.
First team All-Pro player either.
And all three,
especially
have had
against the
problems
run,
in the pass game over the middle, and they have pretty good weapon over there that you got to deal with in the passing game over the middle.
So what if the question is, who would you bench first, Schobert or Bush? How would you answer that?
Bush.
Would you care to extrapolate?
Because I don't think I've seen enough from him that makes me. I think Spillane against the run is better, and I think Schobert overall has been better, even though Bush has more potential and he is highly coveted in terms of being 10th overall pick, Ron. But I can't ignore the performance over the potential.
Yeah, I probably would sit they're all going to play. There's no doubt
they all will play.
They're not. It's not like you're benched and chained to the bench. I would probably keep Bush in and take Schobert out if I'm going to go with Spillane.
One final question before the end of this showdown, and it goes to you first, Ron. Will the Steelers win their next 3 games? And if so, do they become a legitimate contender to you, knowing what's after that?
I think they have a real good chance to win these next 3. But no, I'm not going to say a legitimate contender because of what is coming up. Now, obviously, if they're 6-3, they're going to be legitimate at that point. But I'd still probably stick to my 8-9 prediction. I think they can win these next 3. They better win. If they lose to Cleveland, no matter what, they better beat Chicago and Detroit. They're bad teams. I think they can beat Cleveland.
Would you rephrase the question, Bob?
Rephrase it?
No, re-say it.
I'm just saying,
Why do
if
I
they
keep saying
win,
the
will
wrong
they
word?
win their next 3 games?
Yes,
and
they
if
will.
If so, to get to 6-3, will you then regard them as a legitimate contender?
For what?
For a playoff spot.
Absolutely. And a legitimate contender to win the AFC North. Yes, I will. If they do that, they're going to be 6-3.
Knowing the schedule toughens up as it is.
Toughens up for everybody, including the Bengals. Yes, I will. Yes, I do, and yes, I will.
All right, knowing that the Bengals...
I'm halfway there. Yes, I think they can. No, I still won't look at them as legitimate.
See, the Bengals...
Although at that point they will be, but am I going to project it? No.
The loss against Cincinnati does not look as bad now, knowing that Cincinnati did what they did to Baltimore, but these head-to-head games are going to determine...
Well, they also didn't have T.J. Watt.
I understand that. But still, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
People at the time thought it was alarming. The Bengals would come in here after the Raiders beat them at home. And where would this go? So if the Steelers play well defensively, I think they can be a legitimate contender if they win their next 3, regardless of what's on the schedule. That'll conclude today's showdown. We'd like to thank our competitors today, Ron Cook and Joe Starkey, and, of course, Joe Koff for running the board. Joe, next time, make sure you shut down Joe Starkey's mic so we can have a more smooth transition into the showdown. We'll see you next week, everyone.
Thank you, Bob.